Aloha! This CME activity is jointly provided by the Queens Medical Center and UH-JABSOM Department of Geriatric Medicine. We offer free continuing education for this series. In order to receive a CME or CEU, participants must complete the online evaluation at the end of the webinar. Your comments are very important to the planning committee and will be used to plan future programs. Health professionals, you can now check on your CME credits online. Go to www.queens.org and type CME in the search tool. Click on My CME Transcript, then sign in to generate your transcript. About ECHO, we want to remind everyone that this is an ECHO webinar, which means that this session serves as a forum of mutual teaching and learning from experts and from each of us on the front lines. As the ECHO motto goes, all teach, all learn. So it will take all of you to create this community of learning. In the spirit of aloha, we encourage you to turn on your cameras to help us build a community of learning. Feel free to eat during this ECHO session. Good nutrition is key to a healthy lifestyle. A little bit about our format. After a short lecture from our experts, we will share expertise from the rest of the team and then open up the time for case discussions. We invite you to share any geriatric cases. It may even be on a topic not related to the topic of today's lecture. We only ask you that you keep it HIPAA compliant case for discussion. That means, please do not share the patient's name, birthday, address, and so on. We learn best from our patients. They are the best teachers. Our interdisciplinary team is here as well, and we are all willing to teach and share our collective wisdom with you. Most of you already know me. I am Wynette Gaylord of Alliance of Residential Care Administrators, ARCA. We have Maribel Tan, President of Foster Family Homes Association, Elsa Talavera, President and CEO of All Island Case Management Corporation, May Magnayan, nurse with Lokahi Case Management, Madeline Kim, social worker, student, and CHW at Aloha Care. Leila Ventar, Health Coordination Manager from United Healthcare, Hawaii County, and Dr. Ritabel Fernandez from University of Hawaii. We are in the third month of our series on what matters. If you're interested in viewing any of those lectures and handouts, you can find them on our website. Unfortunately, we cannot offer certificates of attendance for videos you have viewed. We must participate in our education live. The title of today's webinar is Communicating with People Living with Dementia. Joining us today is Dorothy Colby. Dorothy Colby is a dementia care specialist with more than 25 years of professional and personal experience in caring for people with dementia. She is a certified positive approach to care dementia educator. Dorothy is the director of community engagement at Halekuike Resident Dementia Care Facilities on Oahu. Through her work at Halekuike and her public dementia education work, Dorothy helps those who work with and care for people with dementia to understand the brain changes that come with dementia. By understanding these changes, we can empathize, adjust our approach and expectations, and more positively connect and communicate with those who are living with dementia. We are grateful for your time and expertise and for the important work you do to support our community. We're delighted to have you with us today. Welcome, Dorothy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for that kind introduction. Let me get my slides up here really quick. Okay. All right. Everything looks okay? Okay. Thank you again for having me. I'm excited to meet all of you. And today we really are going to be focusing on communication for those who are living with the brain changes that come with dementia. And while this is a virtual setting, I'm so happy that so many of you are on screen that I can see you so that we can make those connections. So even though this is virtual, I want to invite everyone to use their bodies during this class too. So we'll be doing some hand motions and tapping our heads and things as part of the learning process. So I want to start out with kind of setting the groundwork for what's most important for making positive connections with people living with dementia. And one of them is focusing on the relationship. It takes two of us together to move to a new place, space, and time in a positive way. And people living with dementia are doing the very best they can at all times of the day. And we're the ones who are the key to making life worth living. Um, and we're going to be looking to start out with what is this thing called dementia? A lot of times I've had people ask, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? Or tell me my mother has dementia, Alzheimer's, but not dementia. So we want to kind of make sure we're all speaking the same terms before we move forward. So dementia itself is not a specific diagnosis. Under the umbrella of the word dementia, a set of symptoms, there are different causes for those brain changes. One of the big ones is memory changes, memory loss, but many, many more. It is not a normal part of aging. It's a disease process, and it's more than forgetfulness. So when we think about what is happening to the actual brain, and we're going to look at pictures of the brain, we really are talking about structural changes. So cells are shrinking and dying, but also your brain is a chemical factory pumping out all different types of chemicals that help with your memory, help with mood. And when that factory is working well, it helps you regulate throughout the day and by situation. But when it's not, when those cells are shrinking and dying, that factory is not working so well. So there might be, and other times of the day, it might be working a little better. So there are times where someone can shine like, wow, my resident is like super sharp today. I usually have to help her get dressed, but today I just handed her the clothes and she did it herself. But then by the afternoon, perhaps very confused again. So that kind of up and down can be a real challenge for those of us who are working to help and support those living with dementia. So here's the first time I'm going to ask you to use your hands. If you're eating, don't worry about it. But if we have this big umbrella, we think of dementia as the umbrella term, and underneath that are all the different causes. So you can see here the biggest raindrop here is Alzheimer's disease, but we also have frontotemporal, Lewy bodies, the vascular dementias, so things related to strokes, and all these other ones on the side here. There's over 100 different causes. So too many concussions for football players, for example, that damages your brain. And people can have more than one. So someone can have Alzheimer's disease and have had a lot of traumatic brain injury. So each person that we meet who's living with dementia is unique. They were unique individuals before they developed dementia, and their particular type of dementia is unique to them, and how it affects them is unique to them. So sometimes I like to say, if I put one thumb up, if you'll put one thumb up, when you've met one person living with dementia, you've met one person living with dementia. We have all a lot of experience here, everybody on this Zoom today. And we have a lot of experiences that seem very similar between those living with dementia, but each of them that we've met and loved and cared for is unique. So part of being a really effective caregiver for people living with this kind of brain change is taking that step back and becoming a really good dementia detective and noticing details about how they're moving through the world. And that's what we're going to focus on today, about how to get connected. So starting with looking at the actual brains. So the person on the left, it says normal brain. This is an individual, a man who I think was about 75 or so, who passed away in a car accident. So no neurodegenerative disease, no Alzheimer's, nothing like that. So he was a healthy individual with a healthy brain when he passed away, and donated it to us to learn from. And the man on the right was someone who passed away from Alzheimer's disease 10 years after his diagnosis. They are the same age, and their circumference of their head size, like if you took a measuring tape and went around like this, it was the same. So this man on the left skull, you can see how big it would have been. The man on the right skull would have been the same size, So it would have been way up here where my cursor is here. So when you look at these two brains side by side, what are some of the things that might jump out to you about the differences between them? Certainly the size, one is a lot smaller than the other. The color, the one on the right is definitely darker And then the ridges, the gaps are bigger too. So what you're seeing is that cells shrinking and dying. And your brain is a vascular organ. It wants really good blood flow. So that's why your doctors always tell you what's good for your heart is good for your brain. And someone in one of my workshops once said the brain on the right looks like an old bruise. Whereas, and it's this brain that's shrunken this way, it's not getting very good blood flow, really. I mean, it really couldn't. So that's what we're looking at. When we think about the people we as healthcare professionals or at home are supporting, when I talk to my staff at Halikuike, the Arch Halikuike, our residents come to us somewhere in between these two brains. So if they were living with the brain on the left, they wouldn't be coming to us. Things have changed and they're somewhere in between. I would say for our level of care, for the Arch level of care, somewhere to the left of the middle, probably. So they've already experienced some shrinking. And the hard thing for us is that we can't see that shrinking. Their heads don't actually shrink. It's happening inside. And all we can see is the changes in their behavior, language, and things like that. That's how we know that something's changing in the brain. So I want to take a step back from those two brains and just think about brains in general. So human beings, we are built to take in data from all around, and we use our five senses. So if you have a free hand, go ahead and put your hand up. Five senses. And number one, if you put your thumb up, number one is what we see, vision. We want to see what's coming. We feel safe when we see what's coming. If something a loud sound is behind us, or we get touched and we didn't know they were there, it brings up a fear response. If you hear something that you don't know what it is, first thing you do is look. Something touches you, you don't know what it is, first thing you do is look. And then once you see it, then you can, okay, it's okay. So we want to get connected that way first. Number two, take your other finger, touch your ears, what we hear. So we're taking in auditory data. You're doing both of those right now, looking at the screen, listening to me go on. You're taking in both kinds of data and putting them together. And the third one, we're going to focus on just the first three today. If you touch the back of your hand like this, what we feel, sensory motor. If it feels good, like I'm doing nice and slow here, I keep doing it. If it doesn't feel good, I automatically pull away. Like you touch something hot. Oh, hot. I don't have to think. I just do. So these three senses are key, what we're going to focus on to getting connected today. Visually, because we want them to see us. We want to see each other before we connect. Verbally, how do we understand each other with our words when the brain is changing? And the last one, touch, because we do a lot of touching in what we do. We're here to support people with brain changes and also physical changes. And so a lot of the work, I would say a huge part of the work we do is touching people. So how do we do that and get connected? So I want to take a look about visual changes. What change? Whoops, sorry, accidentally. There we go. What changes for people living with dementia visually? So when we're going to be talking about not eye changes, although some people do have changes in their eyes as they get older, but impaired vision, maybe they need glasses and they always have to have those on. But I'm talking about the brain. So everybody touch the back of your head, This is your occipital lobe. This is where you process vision for the most part. So you're taking in data through your two eyes, goes through all the wiring in your brain. And this part of your brain helps you understand what you're seeing, what it is, and how to, and helps you find what you need. So one thing that your brain does, all of our brains, is we mostly focus on the center. So everybody's looking at their laptop or phone right now, we're focused on the center. And when you're focused on the center right now, like I'm looking at my laptop, what's off to the side, if you kind of wave your hands to the side here out of the frame, this is your peripheral awareness. So even though you're not looking at the sides, you're kind of aware of things going on the side. This is your safety vision. And when you have a healthy brain, the one on the left, you have a pretty wide range of peripheral awareness, pretty wide range. And that's what keeps you safe. Even when you're looking in one direction, you can tell when something's coming. If you take a look at these two occipital lobes, the one circled on the left and then the one on the right, the man with Alzheimer's, big change in the size. So this man on the right, his occipital lobe is not working so well. And so what does that look like? So I'm going to have us simulate it together. So if you take your hands and make two L's like this, and put it on the side of your face, this is typical aging. When you get to be about 75, you might lose a little bit of your peripheral awareness. You might trip a little more. I know I'm starting to misstep sometimes here, but you can compensate by looking a little bit more, but it's not too bad. But early dementia, early stage dementia, maybe even before they come to a care home setting, they start to lose peripheral awareness. Nothing's wrong with their eyes now. It's that brain change requires, their brain is trying to help them out. Pay attention to the middle. So make two C's like this and make like you're wearing a snorkel mask. Snorkel mask. So when you look at your laptop or your computer now, what do you notice is missing on the sides if you take it off and put it on? If you had someone sitting next to you or something next to you, it's like it disappears. I just don't see it. So if someone was standing on the side and tapped me on the shoulder, I might jump, even though normally, if I had a healthy brain, I would have seen it. So now we're getting to mid-stage dementia. So I tell my staff at Haliquike, all of our residents are either here, now make two O's like a binoculars, or here in their visual awareness. Now, what is your vision like? What can you see? So now imagine, I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're sitting at a dining table and there's a plate of food down in front of you. And so if you put your binoculars on and you look straight ahead at maybe the person who's across the table from you, can you see your food that's down here? No. If you look down, can you see the person who's across? No. You have very focused vision. I'm looking down at a task, and when I look up to be social, I lose that task. So it's very hard for me to switch back and forth as my dementia progresses. And when I'm looking across the table, whose food can I see? I see the person across the table's food is not mine, and I might reach over and grab it. And sometimes people might say, oh, don't seat her with anybody else because she steals food. But with my changing brain, what I see is what I know. And I don't see my food. I see this other food. And I don't understand mine, yours. I just see something that looks good to me. So I'm going to have us take a little pause when we think about when we see behaviors like that. When I talked about you can't see the brain changing, but when you start to notice this person is not seeing their own food, but they're seeing things across really well, that's a sign of changing vision. And then the last one, if you cover one eye, this is late stage, they're really only taking data from one eye. So they start to lose depth perception. They have trouble grasping things. They might trip more, things like that. So the change in this one part of the brain affects how they interact with the world and with us. And so if we pause for a moment and think, if you want the person that you're supporting to see you, and this is happening for them, where do you need to be? Position yourself so that they can see you. Here on the side, little here, or all the way in front, because it's very narrow. Sometimes I tell the staff, if you can imagine everybody wearing like those little like swim goggles that people wear, and if you can picture that, and no matter which way they're sitting, where would they see? What's their line of sight? And then move your body into that area so they can see, because that's the first thing that helps us get connected. So they won't get startled by you. So easy to startle. The next section, so we got connected visually. The next one is verbally, about language. So I'm going to have you take your fingers out one more time. There's three things that we need in order to communicate with language. First one, and it's on the left. If you tap the left side of your head, your left temporal lobe, vocabulary. So we all have big dictionaries in our head, vocabulary, maybe multiple languages dictionaries, if you're lucky, all this language, and you have all these words to pull from. The second one is the ability to take those words, put them into a sentence, and speak them in a way that other people can understand. So language production. And the third one, taking other people's sentences into your ear and understanding what people are saying. So that's your left side, your left temporal lobe. With all dementias, some even more rapidly than others, but with all, the language center on the left is often affected earlier and more severely. And we start to notice that our people we're supporting with living with dementia start to have trouble finding words. I'm looking for the bubble. And you're like, what? What's Dorothy talking about, the bubble? I'm trying to find the word bottle, or maybe water bottle, and I came kind of close. It starts with a B, but the more you ask me, what are you looking for, the more frustrated I get. And I might start to get mad. I'm looking for the bottle. What's the matter? Don't you speak English? Oh, now we're butting heads. But what's happening is I'm trying as hard as I can with my brain living with this disease process. And you are too. I am too, trying as hard. So it can be really hard. That's where we sometimes get into conflict, because I'm losing that language. Or maybe I'm speaking full sentences and you can't understand anything that I am saying. Like sometimes I hear it called word salad. And those are both clues, going back to being a dementia detective, both clues that something's changing here and I'm not able to put my language together. But what's not clear to us is how much they can understand. Because we're speaking and maybe they're nodding, but they're only getting out of 5 words, maybe 2. But it can be a real challenge. But on the right, if you touch the right side of your head, the part that remains through very late in life, rhythm, the music, the poetry, the prayer, things that don't require us to think. If the music comes on of a song, all the words come flooding in your head. You don't have to try to remember them. And that's a way you can get connected. If I had a religious background, you might start the Lord's Prayer and I can finish it. Even though I can't tell you in a full sentence what I had for lunch or what I'm looking for, the right side of the brain remains intact. I'm going to go forward a little bit. And the third one, the touch, go ahead and touch the top of your head here, top of your head, sensory motor. So, like I said, this is what we feel. When we feel something, we do something. And if you look at the big red square, that's the healthy brain, typical brain, aging brain. And the bottom one is the man who passed away from Alzheimer's disease. Big change. And what this controls for us is our ability to manage our body in space. So living with dementia, I start to have trouble with that. And also kind of a map of our own body as to what I'm feeling where. So where my pain is, for example, I start to have a real hard time making that connection because of this brain change. And the other thing that changes is my sensitivity. So we all have 4 parts of our body that are highly sensitive, extra sensitive, more than other parts of the body. So if you put like you're putting on an oxygen mask on the airplane, your nose and mouth, we've taken a lot of data here. Fingers, I won't show you my toes on here, but wiggle your toes too. Fingers and toes, and the peri area, genital area, very highly sensitive. So touching my cheeks doesn't feel so bad, but if I do the same motion to my lips and nose, very irritating, fast. It's more sensitive. So when the brain is changing and dying here with this sensory motor strip, these 4 areas, nose and mouth, fingertips, toes, privates, become hypersensitive. So even though I think I'm wiping this person's face very gently, they might react as if I'm really hurting them. Think of it like old school, like turning the volume up really loud. It's like the volume is turned up on the sensitivity for those 4 parts. So when we know that, we can take a step back and take a deep breath and think, I need to help someone by touching them in these areas. What can I do to make it a little less sensitive? Maybe I can make sure the wipes I'm using are warm. go really slow and extra gentle. It'll still be sensitive for them, toothbrushing, for example, but not quite as overwhelming if we did it with a usual amount of uh, uh, pressure. So let's go back and take a quick review. How do we get connected? The very first one, visually, make sure you're where they can see you. And their brains are changing and moving a little slower to figure out, like, who is this? Why is this person here? So pause, get into visual range and pause and give them a chance to see you. Auditory, verbal. They're probably not understanding everything you're saying. So keep it slow. Lower voices, lower your voice a little helps with the aging hearing, and keep it simple. And if you can, combine a visual cue, because they can see you, with your verbal cue. So if you want someone to stand up, instead of saying, just stand up, okay, time to stand up, what can we do with our hands to give a clue that you want someone to stand up? Yes, you can go like, stand up, like up. You can even make it easier, up, come, things like that. So if you can pair visual cues with your verbal, it really helped them put the pieces together. And go slow. Give them a pause. Give some pause to give them a chance to process it. Sometimes I like to think of it as if someone wakes you up and then tries to tell you a lot of information, you're like, it takes a little while to clue in with what's going on. If someone wakes you up and does it slowly and gives you time, then you can make, okay, gives you a chance to catch up with what's going on. And once you get connected visually and verbally, then you can get connected physically. But if we start with the third one, I'm not going to stick this finger up by itself, but if we start with the third one by, let me just wipe your face, let me move this wheelchair without the visual and without the verbal, that's when we get that fight, flight response, because they don't know what's happening, and it's scary. It's scary. Even though it seems clear to us, they should have seen us, or I was talking to them, but I was on the side. It's different for them. They're perceiving the world differently because of that changing brain. So we talked a little bit about visual cue. So one thing to keep in mind for all communication, this isn't just for people who are living with dementia. If what you're trying is not working, stop, back off. Because if we're continuing the butt heads, we're not going to get anywhere good. Everything's going to go downhill. So for example, if you find yourself repeating the same thing over and over again, like sit down, sit down, sit down. Where's your walker? Where's your walker? Where's your walker? I have said those things multiple times in a row, but if you're saying it so many times and nothing is happening, pause, because clearly they're not understanding what's happening. So pause, get into visual field, maybe give a visual cue of like the actual walker, come up slowly and move from there. So that's a common one that I encounter for myself sometimes, often here at Holly Creek. And so going back to believing people with dementia are doing the best they can. Sometimes that best they can is really, really hard and really, really frustrating. But like someone who's living with other organ diseases, heart disease, lung disease, they're breathing and heart beating best they can. Their brains, people living with dementia, are thinking and processing the best they can. And remember, who has the healthy brain and who has the capacity to change and adjust. But also, our brains get stressed too. So when you start to feel that like, I don't know what else to do, I just take a deep breath, take a step back. Sometimes you might have to raise your hand and ask for help, for someone else to step in, someone else to look at the situation, because maybe you're so close to it you can't see another way. And then together, building that care team is what's going to make a difference with communication. So this you all got. I'm not going to read it. This is the Dementia Assist card. So this is from the Positive Approach to Care. So everyone should have this. There's some tips in here. And also the last slide is where to get more information, videos, recordings of longer sessions with me and other resources that there are available at Paz Care and the Hawaii Dementia Initiative and Alzheimer's Association. So I want to thank you for your time today and open it up to any questions.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, for sharing and sharing your valuable insights with all of us and really appealing that empathy to think about someone with dementia and how they feel as well. If anyone has any questions to get us started, I can read them out of the chat if you want to type them, or you can come off mute and ask yourself as well. I'm curious about when it comes to working with people with dementia. Do you correct them when they state something that is false or mistake you as someone else in that situation? What is the best way to handle that? Do you correct them and try to gently guide them the right way, or do you kind of just go along with what they're saying?
Yeah, I would say in general, it's very individual. It depends where someone is on their journey and their level of awareness. But in general, if someone is making those kind of big mistakes, like let's say my mother is calling me her sister's name because maybe I look a little like her sister at that age, or I think my husband is still alive and he's passed away. Those are signs of quite damaged brains because of dementia. And so for me, those things are real. In cases like that, and in most cases, going with the flow is the example of telling someone their spouse has passed. Remember, he died. Look, here's the obituary. Will only bring grieving over again, and you'll be facing that same situation again. So there's a way to be empathetic without um, uh, feeling like you're trying to deceive them. So, for example, resident says, "I'm looking for my husband. Have you seen him?" Oh, I haven't seen him today. That is 100% true. I haven't seen him. And well, he's looking for me. I need to find him. I'm like, oh my goodness, he's looking for you're looking for him. If I see him, I'll let him know that you're here. But while you're waiting, can you help me with this over here? And trying to get them into doing something else. And it's because of the brain changes. Without our help going to another place, space, or time to do something else, they can't stop perseverating on that one thing. So yeah. So in general, correcting correcting doesn't really help anybody. Even I come out with my shirt backwards or inside out. You're pointing it out doesn't make me feel any better. Is there any harm in me wearing my shirt wrong? No, not really. Or I'm wearing somebody else's shirt. Happens here all the time. It's okay. It's okay. So, uh, but it depends on the situation. So I hope that was helpful answer.
Yes, thank you so much for that answer. Has anyone experienced any interactions with people with dementia that they want to share about or have any questions that they want to ask? Sarah said, thank you for reminding us of the importance of our residents' work and family history, hobbies, etc. Builds our relationship for people living with dementia.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you know about someone, the more you're prepared to. So supporting someone living with this kind of brain change really requires us to get inside their bodies and worked in childcare, so they might be drawn to things relating to children, let's say baby dolls, things like that. That's a helpful way to get them positively engaged with something. Or if someone was a teacher, teachers love tasks, and they also love telling people what to do. So oftentimes you can get former teachers. Also, I'll add in former nurses. need some charting and people to supervise.
Dorothy,
So
can
I
I?
have a question too. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I get phone calls from spouses, usually women. The husband has Alzheimer's and he's dangerous. He's beating her up. He's throwing furniture around.
Mm,
You didn't really
hmm.
address how do you deal with somebody who is becoming really violent and you call up and no facility wants to take a person like that.
Right.
And you don't want somebody so over medicated that they're kind of, totally out of it. So
Right.
where's that middle ground? Like, would your facility take
Yeah.
somebody who's violent, and would you know how to deal with that?
Yeah, that is a great question. So that is definitely something that happens both in home and in facilities. And what you're pointing about, no facility wants to take someone like that. Unlike the home, this is a congregate setting with many people, and someone's let's say someone is a danger to themselves or others. The scale of it's different here, and that's one of the reasons, as you all know, care homes can't really take someone who's experiencing that. But we have it happen here, some at Halikuike too. People's that you saw that brain changing. It changes over time. So maybe this person was doing okay at home or doing okay at Halikuike, and then something has changed for them. And let's say this place is overstimulating now or something like that, and they can't. I would say the first thing is make sure this person has had a full medical workup. What's happening? There may be things. What we're seeking is what's underneath the behaviors. These behaviors are a symptom. The aggression, the throwing the picture, it's all a symptom, a reaction to the person's world. And it could be a reaction to, I have a raging UTI and nobody knows it. And so I'm experiencing pain and infection and maybe heading towards sepsis, and it's undiagnosed yet. So getting that full medical workup, and also including are there any psychiatry issues that might be coming into play? Does this person have another psychiatric history? Are they suffering? Are they living with depression now? So getting that full picture is so important to know what's going on. And so that's would be my advice. We've had times where we had to turn somebody down as a resident here, and we give this the same advice I'm giving now: get this full workup, and the family might go and get that all done. And the balance of medications, that can be tricky, but I always counsel people is it's about the quality of life. It's not about how compliant someone is or the other, because if you think about it from the person who's throwing the furniture's point of view, that is a very poor quality of life for that person too. The person who's so upset and so distraught all the time and so angry, that would be a terrible way to live every moment of the day with every interaction with other people. So finding that balance, and that's something you would do with the doctor. So um, I personally don't think of medications as good or bad. They are a tool and they're very individual. We try and change all kinds of other things first, but if the person is a danger to themselves or others, um, in order to have a quality of life, I would start with working with the medical professional. Yeah.
We have a few comments and questions
Sure.
related to this topic I want to go over.
Sure.
Sarah mentioned if the person is being violent and aggressive, it will be helpful to get a medical
Hmm.
evaluation.
Absolutely.
Marianne says that I deal with a lot of patients that's demented. We usually
Hmm.
play along with them and slowly
Hmm.
change the subject to a subject that will interest them. If they come violent, we just let them be, watch them, of course, but go back to talk and help them when we
Yeah.
know they have calmed down.
Yep.
Most
That's very good. That's a very good point. That's giving and just giving each other space to take a breath for a little bit. And that's sometimes one of the kind of gifts of the memory loss is you can kind of start fresh, the 20 minutes later. It's like almost as if it didn't happen sometimes.
Melita says sometimes it is a personality of the patient before getting dementia, so it is hard to address. It is okay to
Mm-hmm.
medicate if the behavior will harm the patient.
Yeah, knowing the patient's personality before is very important too. And really, I've heard and known in my own personal family, there'd be like, oh my, it can be, he was such a you-know-what before, and now he has dementia. He's like a gentle pussycat. You've heard stories like that too. Uh, but but the but if someone was like a very rigid and inflexible person before they developed dementia, their type of dementia, they're probably not going to be a super relaxed, go with the flow person after they get dementia. But it's good to know. But I wouldn't say there's a certain personality type that when you get dementia, they're going to require medication. It really is so individual. There's those 100 different diseases that cause dementia, affects different parts of the brain. It's going to be unique for every single one of them. Yeah, but yeah, the medications work closely with the doctors. Of course, work closely with the families. Good doctors will start with very low doses and watch, and over time. And so no one should be trying to snow someone, but and those medications can change. You might find something that works now, but over time that might change, and it's nobody's fault. The person is changing too. Yeah.
Shelley says redirect the topic sometimes helps.
Yes.
And then
Yes,
we have
it
a
does.
question from Aimee. How do you handle someone with dementia with disturbances to call EMS in everyday basis?
Yeah. So calling EMS, calling the police, kind of like the throwing the chair. I would there's two parts to it. One is trying to looking like what's underneath. So when what makes us want to call EMS and call the police? We feel like something terrible is about to happen. I think I'm having a heart attack, or there's someone outside trying to break in. That's the level of fear that makes a call for emergency services. So what's underneath that? So if you know as the caregiver that there's no situation that really requires EMS or the police, but what is it for this person's changing brain that feels like that for them? Kind of getting to that. The other is what's in the environment. Sometimes there's like a visual trigger. So if I see the telephone, I want to use it. So if there's a way, like an out of sight, out of mind, sometimes when we have that situation here, we have to, sometimes I'm amazed this works, but sometimes we put a cloth napkin draped over the telephone. It looks kind of silly. It looks like a napkin lump on the table, but to the resident, it no longer looks like a telephone. And so maybe they're looking for the phone and they just don't notice it. And then we can have opportunity to engage them doing something else. Whereas if they see the phone, they're going to pick it up. And then from that point to say, no, don't call 911. That's a harder thing to do once the phone. So monitoring the environment, sometimes we just put the phone in a little different place. So it's just not in the path where the resident's walking back and forth all the time. So removing, if there's a possible environmental trigger to that behavior, like see a phone, make a call, see a phone, make a call. Or, maybe this person is having hallucinations or delusions of some kind of threat, and that's what's making them want. That's something you take up with the physician, because that's again, what a tough. It has a very poor quality of life if you think. I've had residents who think there's a man outside my window with a knife every day. That's terrifying.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
My name is Walter, and thank you for enlightening us about this dementia and Alzheimer's behaviors and management. It's such an eye-opening for us. Well, the other challenges that we have sometimes is because my parents are aging and it looks like they have early stages of dementia, and they're still independent. But then again, I'm worried about them getting lost. So our gate is open sometimes, and they're gonna go out and just walk around the neighborhood. I was thinking about buying an air tag, putting around the wrist or something, just to monitor them where they are. But I don't know if there's a better recommendation on how to locate them, just in case they get lost. Besides, the ID bands and all that stuff. I mean, I'm just running out of ideas on how to do it.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the biggest risks, wandering, elopement, in terms of personal danger, personal safety and danger. We've all seen the silver alerts and seen the stories of people who are later found, you know, who have passed away or injured in some way. But kind of going back to, if you notice that when the person you're supporting, in your case, your parents, goes out and can't find their way back home, that's a definite, and they would used to be able to do that. That is a specific hallmark of the brain change related to dementia. So their refinding system is broken, and so that's the danger, because even though it's a familiar place, and you can't change that. And so things that you mentioned are what people do. One is having the wristband or another piece of jewelry, so if they that they can know, someone knows where to call. Having a trackable device, there's a lot of different options right now for that. Air tags, I think, require another Apple device to be within a certain distance in order to see where the air tag is. But there's a few different ones. But I also would encourage people to think about, it's not just about finding them when they're lost, but all the things that can happen between the moment they walk out of the house and the time it takes you to know they're gone. And so there's a lot of room for, let's say they leave the house in the middle of the night, for example, which it does happen. It's a sign that possibly this person cannot live safely alone anymore, without a secure someone there or some kind of security. But it really is a balance of independence and control there. So I don't have a set solution for it, other than it is a high risk situation. Yeah.
Dorothy, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay, so the Ombudsman program sometimes gets phone calls from assisted living facilities that have memory care units,
Mm-hmm.
where let's say that there's a male resident and a female resident.
Mm-hmm.
They both have some kind of dementia,
Mm-hmm.
and they become attracted to one
Mm-hmm.
another
Mm-hmm.
because they're scared, they're lonely. They start having meals together.
Yep.
They start sitting on the couch together.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding
Mm-hmm.
hands
Mm-hmm.
together.
Mm-hmm.
The staff think it's kind of cute. And then the
Mm-hmm.
family comes in and they're freaking out that, oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, my dad is cheating on my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And they want that stopped
Mm-hmm.
instantly. So they want the
Mm-hmm.
facility separate these two, make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they
Mm-hmm.
have no contact at all, which
Right.
seems really cruel to me, because the
Mm-hmm.
residents, they don't think that they're cheating. They think
Right.
this is their spouse. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you deal with families that are so adamant that they're actually going to pull the resident out of the
Yep.
facility because
Yeah.
you're not doing what they want?
Right. That. Thank you for bringing that up. That is a topic that is challenging in many ways. You mentioned the staff think it's cute. Sometimes there's the opposite reaction. Staff thinks it's gross, like, oh my God, they're so old, they shouldn't be. but we are living, breathing human beings with a sexuality through the whole of our lives. Just because you're getting older doesn't change that. There's no expiration date where the switch gets totally flipped off necessarily. And like you say, I might not remember I have a spouse at all. I'm living in the moment. I often say it's all about the now for people living with dementia. What I see now, what I hear now, this person maybe looks like my spouse, or this person just looks like a friendly person who's being really nice and warm to me. And we all want warmth and love and affection from someone else. So I think the key with working with families on this issue, because we have this too, two residents who, are not partners, but finding each other, is communication with the family right from the very beginning, to say, we've noticed that, your father really, really likes this other female resident, and they sit together a lot, and we've seen them holding hands, and just start the conversation, so that they're not surprised when they come in, and you can kind of work through it. We say, we know it's not, it's nobody's fault, but when and we've had that where we've worked with both families, and both families are okay with it, and we've had times where one side of the family is not okay with it, and then they do end up pulling the person out. But there's no way we can physically stop two human beings from interacting with each other in a group setting like that. But I've known many residents who find loving companionship um, uh, with someone who wasn't their spouse in time. I've had known residents who have formed same gender relationships in the care facility, where in their life before they were in a heterosexual relationship. So again, communication with the family. So yeah.
We have some comments in the chat about
Mm-hmm.
the situation and also about the previous topic
Mm-hmm.
about getting
Mm-hmm.
lost. Sarah says getting old can be lonesome, especially if a person is living with a dementia. Families and caregivers need education. They are enjoying each other's companionship, friendship. And then
I'll add to that. It's usually not 100% not about sex. It's about physical touch, and that kind of like hugging, leaning. Usually that is all. Sometimes uh, 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 it might go further, and again, it's case by case. But almost all the time, it's not about sex. Yeah.
and then back to the getting lost and wandering. Sarah mentions liking the idea of air tags and possibly using an Apple Watch with GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Shaylee says, how about using a sensor alarm by the door or gate that is paired to the person who has problem so they will not get away from the house? As soon as they are near or close to the alarm system, it will alarm you that someone is going out.
Yeah. That can be a plus. The one thing is, if the person is very fixated on the door, you have the alarm going off a lot. That's also very alarming. To hear alarms is alarming. Another thing I've known people to do is, because remember these binoculars I had you all put on, and if you're looking at a door and you're kind of looking at the doorknob, a little lock further up. It doesn't have to be very high. It's not like you're hiding at the top of the door. It doesn't have to be very high up for it to be kind of out of sight for someone. I mean, it doesn't have. It doesn't. Anyway, it's you don't want to create a evacuation hazard. We don't want to be locking people in their homes, but there are some changes you can make to keep it simple. The other thing is that if I'm engaged with doing something, the more I have to do, the less I'm looking for the door. When I don't have anything to do, I'm kind of at loose ends, then I start wondering. It's most of our residents here, even though Haleakui is a locked facility, most of them are not looking for the door. But if there is a door that is just open, or a door that opens easily, they would walk through it most of the time. We do definitely have some residents who are what you might call active exit seekers, but for the most part, they just go where opportunity takes them.
Marianne says, I made a medical bracelet for my dad. It has his health insurance, medical number, my phone number, and address.
Oh, that's great.
Melita mentioned that extra door lock is against the
Right.
regulations.
Yeah. That's true. I heard a doctor recently talk about the simplest medical necklace with the address to is you can go to Petco and get a very cute like charm, and then with your name and address and phone number and stuff all on it. It doesn't look like a dog tag, even though of course it's made for pets. But they have you can get one today that way, for just like a little necklace style one. That was one of the Queen's doctors recommended that. I haven't thought about that, but there's also jewelry that you can't take off. So bracelets that you'd have to order those special. Yeah.
So I have a question as far
Sure.
as if a family member that's in your home has another family member that they're very close to, they pass away outside the home, how important do you feel about being honest with them? And if so, do you think that it's counterproductive as far as them getting depressed from that news?
That's a great question. It depends on the individual. Um, I have had residents for whom the family was able to tell them, and they went through the grieving process, and they went to the funeral, and maybe afterwards they didn't remember, and then so they didn't keep reinforcing it. But I've also had residents for whom they're further along, and they really wouldn't have been able to process the news anyway, and so the family let that go, and and being at the funeral would have been too upsetting. So it really depends on the person. I've had families for whom they put a little insert into the funeral program to let everybody at the funeral know, mom is living with dementia, and just and some tips on how to talk with her at the funeral. So it's very, very individual. Yeah. So it's not one size fits all. Yeah. Depends on the person. Sometimes if the family needs to share it and be together in that moment, and it's okay. It's okay for someone living with dementia to grieve and to be sad. And what we don't want is for them to have to do it over and over and over again. But grieving together is a healthy thing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you very much.
Such an awesome presentation, and it has stimulated so much great discussion today with our care home and foster home operators. We really love the discussion and so many great questions, and you provide us with practical solutions. So let's look at what happens next. We end our session at 3, and we have the evaluation link. Please fill out the evaluation link. If you are a primary caregiver, then these questions are going to come up. How many residents in total do you serve? And we're looking to collect some metrics on each of your resident. So the resident one, you can think of as the person you had the longest. You put that as your resident one, the longest one, staying in your home for the longest time. Does that resident have an advance directive or a living will? Yes or no? Does the resident have the post, which is the green form? Yes or no? Does the resident have healthcare power of attorney or a healthcare proxy? Yes or no? And then you can answer if you have more residents, you can click on and answer for resident 2, resident 3. Again, we encourage you to go backwards and give resident 1 the one you had the longest time, and then go to the one you had the next longest time. To get your certificate, we need you to please fill out the evaluation. You will click on Certificate of Attendance choice near the bottom after you enter your evaluation. And this Certificate of Attendance will go straight to your email. So please check your spam folder if you don't see it. And we have to do this evaluation for each person. So I understand that sometimes on one telephone or one computer or one laptop or an iPad, maybe you're a five, 6 people. We have to do this for each person, so each person will get their certificate. I like to end with a big mahalo Hawaii could not do it without you. We really do not have enough nursing home in our state to help all our kapuna. So it is your amazing enterprising nature, your big hearts. You have opened your home and your hearts to the people of Hawaii, helping them stay in the community. Thank you very, very much. We are most grateful for your amazing service. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Dorothy. This was a wonderful presentation, and we learned so many pearls from you. Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.